Hello and welcome to the Learning Lab Class Podcast 101. My name is Melissa and I'm one of the adult and teen librarians at the Arcadia Public Library. In this video, we're going to be looking at the Stitcher app on an Android device to listen to podcasts. So let's jump in. So this app is available on both Apple and Android devices. It looks pretty much the same on both devices. So if you have an Apple device, this video will still be of some use to you. So again, your Android device may look different than my Android device. You have different apps, they're in a different order, but this again will still work pretty much the same way for you. So the first step is we're going to want to head to the Play Store right up there on that top line to download the app that we're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and open the Play Store. And I'm going to go back and I am going to search for Stitcher. And again, the predictive text comes up, but I'm going to go ahead and click the one that I would like. You will want to click on the green install button on the right-hand side when you find the app that you are interested in. I'm going to go ahead and hit install. It's going to take just a minute to download depending on your Wi-Fi or cellular connection. And as soon as it is downloaded, it is going to, the buttons below the title of the app are going to change. Great. So now it says uninstall and open. You are welcome to open the app straight from here and launch it. But let's say you are going about your business and you don't happen to open it from the Play Store. So it's going to be somewhere on your device, but you may need to look for it. So I don't see it on this first page. I see it on this second page. So that's where the app landed when it installed this time. If you're having trouble finding the app that you just downloaded and didn't happen to launch it from the Play Store, you can always go to your apps and it will be listed somewhere on those pages of all the apps that are installed on your device. So down here on the second from the bottom row, I see the Stitcher app that we just downloaded. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that. And the Stitcher app requires a free account. So if you don't already have a free account with them, you're going to want to go ahead and hit create account. I already have one, so I'm going to go ahead and click sign in and I'm going to type in my information. And I will be right back as soon as that is done. Okay, so I'm back. I've entered my username and password for an account that I'd already created. And so the first time that you are logging in or using the app, it's going to ask you, do you want to download new episodes of the shows you follow? You can choose yes if you know that's something that you want to do. If you're not so sure, you can just go ahead and click no, or if that's not something that you want it to do automatically, that's no problem. I'm going to go ahead and click no. And let's just talk about the basic navigation of this app. So we are here on the Discover tab, the middle tab down on the bottom. And what this is the landing page that allows you to browse for podcasts that you might be interested in. So they'll have a featured show right up top. They'll have top picks, and then they'll have other lists based on genres or things that are happening. And so you can look through those. There's going to be, lists and lists and lists. So when something catches your eye, you can go ahead and click on the cover for it. So I'm going to click on this Stuff You Should Know podcast. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring you to the podcast page. And there's a lot of information here, so we'll take a look at what all this is. First and foremost, if you wanted more information about what that podcast was about, you can click on the About tab, which is right next to the Episodes tab. The episodes are what are showing in the main part of the screen right now, but if we go to About, it gives you just a little description about the podcast itself. So I'm going to go back to Episodes, and you'll notice that you can search the episode. So if there was a particular episode you were interested in listening to or a particular topic, you can try searching within a podcast. And that's helpful for things like a podcast like this, which has 100 episodes, and they're on a variety of topics. These ones are episodic and not sequential. All of these podcast episodes on this Stuff You Should Know podcast stand on their own. You don't need to listen to any of the other ones to understand the one you're listening to. So this might be one where it is useful to search. So let's say I'm interested in this podcast and I want to know when the new podcasts are going to be coming out, and I want this to be kind of in my rotation of podcasts. Instead of using the word subscribe, Stitcher uses the word follow. So if I want to follow this podcast and kind of have it in my account, I would go ahead and click that plus sign, that follow button. You'll notice after I click it, it switched to unfollow and then gave me a settings menu or a settings button. So I can go ahead and click on that settings button, and what it will bring up is some additional options that I can set up for this podcast. So if I wanted to auto download the latest episodes, I can turn that on. I can let the system know how many downloaded episodes I want it to keep at a time, so it can download up to whatever I set it to. If I haven't listened to them, it's going to delete the oldest one of that based on the number that I set. And then if you make any changes here, you're going to want to apply the settings. I'm going to just close that down, and let's take a look at an individual episode. So these episodes right now, I can, just by looking at it and looking at the date, I can see that they're in reverse chronological order. If I wanted to change that, if I was looking at, say, a sequential podcast that I wanted to see the oldest episode because I got to start at the beginning, the icon on the far right-hand side with the up and the down half arrows is how you would sort it. So you can sort a number of ways. You can do oldest to newest, newest to oldest, longest to shortest, shortest to longest, whatever makes sense for you in that moment, you can set it to that. And then the other little icon is a filter. I think it's an icon for a funnel. That's what it always looks like to me. Neither here nor there. But in any case, the filter, you can filter the results of the episodes based on your previous interactions with them. So if you've liked something, you haven't played something, or you've downloaded something, you can apply that filter and it may limit your results depending on if you've interacted with that podcast before. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this play icon, which is the little it is the triangle on the far right hand side next to this top episode. And what that's going to do is it's going to start playing the episode. And you'll notice that it's thinking, and then it clicked on. That's because I'm streaming this right now. If you just go ahead and click play, it is going to play as long as you are connected to the internet, and it's going to use data the whole time. If I wanted to, say, download this episode, what I would do is I would click over on the title. It's going to give you a little bit more description about that episode, and then I've got additional menu options below. And one of those options is download. So if I wanted to, I could download it to this device. It would just use the data once to download it, and then it would take up space on my device, but I would be able to play it without being connected to the internet. So I can do that. I can also, once I have listened to this episode, but maybe I didn't make it quite all the way to the end, I can also come here and mark the episode play as played, so that I know that I've already listened to it. Down on the bottom in this red band, this is the navigation for playing the actual episode. You have the time bar on the bottom, and you can drag the little cursor back or forwards to wherever you want to jump ahead to. You've also got the back and forward arrows, back 15 seconds, forward 30 seconds. And you've got the triangle for play, and when it's playing, you've got the 2 lines for pause. You also, on the right-hand side, have volume control, and then the 3 lines with the triangle is add to queue, And the queue is essentially the order in which you want episodes to play. It's like making a playlist. And then the little gear in the center there is settings. So this opens the setting menu and you can connect to another smart device. So say a smart speaker or your TV or what have you. You can adjust the play speed. So if you think that these podcast hosts talk particularly slow and you need them to make it snappy, you can make them talk 2 times the speed or 3 times the speed. You can also set a sleep timer. So that will turn off the podcast in the amount of time that you set if you're listening to it before bed. And then you can adjust those buttons of the seek forward and seek backward that we saw here. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust those just so you see where it adjusts. So I'm going to say seek forward is going to be a minute. And I'm going to say seek backward is 30 seconds, whereas it was forward 30 seconds and back 15 seconds. So I'm just going to click out of this menu and you'll notice that down on the bottom next to the play icon, those jump ahead and jump backward arrows have changed time amounts. So that is where you would adjust that. Okay, so I'm going to go back in the upper left corner. There is a back button. I'm going to go ahead and hit that. I'm already following this podcast, and so I'm going to go back again. All right, so we are now back on the Discover page, that main tab that it defaults to, and I'm going to just talk about a couple of the icons in the upper right corner. First, there's the magnifying glass, and so if you were looking for a specific topic or a specific podcast, you can do that search. So I'm going to search for one and see if they've got it. And it's going to give you two search result lists. First being shows, and then the second being episodes. So if you do like a keyword search for, say, for knitting, it's going to bring you shows that have the word knitting, and it's also going to bring you episodes that have the word knitting in it. Same thing with the search we just did. I searched opting out. It'll bring me episodes with those keywords, and it'll also bring me shows with those keywords. So that third one is the one that I am looking for, and I was already following it. It's a quick add or a quick unsubscribe by clicking on the check mark if I'm already followed to unsubscribe or unfollow. And if I want to follow something, I would just click on the plus sign. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on it. And again, you'll see that we're back on a similar page to the Stuff You Should Know podcast. It's got the episodes, information about the podcast, but this one's just a little bit newer. So it only has 2 episodes and not 1,600 of them. Okay, so I'm going to go back again and we're just going to take a look at, I'm going to cancel out of my search, and I'm just going to have us take a look at this settings menu, which is the gear in the upper right hand side. I'm going to go ahead and hit on the gear, and this has all the settings for your account. And so this is where you can adjust your playback and download settings so that the account is working in the way in which you want it. So if you've already played an episode, it can skip it. You can hear, like we changed on the individual episode menu, you can change how far back or forward those little icons go. And also the download settings. So if you want podcasts to be downloaded using your cellular data, you can check that off. It is off by default. It's only going to download things via Wi-Fi unless you tell it otherwise. And then this is also where you can decide if you want to delete played episodes, or you have the option to delete all of your downloads. So settings is a good thing to know about, and you can adjust your account to work the best for you. Speaking of your account, once you've been using it for a little while and you've followed some shows and all of that, your podcasts are going to show up in My Podcast right down here on the bottom. And I have followed 2 now, so that information is going to be reflected here. So I'm currently listening to, or have paused, this Stuff You Should Know episode, and that just shows up on this latest tab. If I head over here to shows, this has all of the shows that I currently follow. You do have the option to group shows by any metric you want them to be grouped by, whatever makes sense for you. And then there's also a way to look at it as episodes. So these are the 2 latest episodes for the podcast that I'm currently following. I'm going to back up one step. If I've liked any episodes, they would show up here, and anything that I have downloaded would show up here. So that was just a very quick overview of the Stitcher app to listen to podcasts. We've gone over in this video the basics of the navigation, how to search, how to listen to a podcast in Stitcher. So in our next videos, we're going to be taking a closer look at other podcast apps. Feel free to leave us a comment below or reach out to library staff if you have any questions. We'll be happy to help.